Hello, I'm Jonothan Earnshaw, former editor-in-chief of BJS and now the director of the BJS Academy, a free educational website for surgeons everywhere, sponsored by the BJS Foundation. This is a reprise of a lecture I gave at the Association of Surgeons meeting earlier this year on the future of scientific surgical publication. If you want to predict the future, the best thing to do is to go and investigate what happened in the past. The BJS, or the British Journal of Surgery as it was in 1913, was established by a group of surgeons based mostly in London, who met together to discuss surgical topics. They decided to write about their experiences and their findings. The first BJS, British Journal of Surgery, was published in 1913. It was mostly about trauma, and of course that's why it became so famous over the next few years, because a lot of material from the First World War was put into it. And as everyone knows, surgical progress often happens most dramatically during times of conflict. But after the war, the surgeons used to visit each other in their different hospitals and write about the lessons that they learned from each other. Over the years, the journal became more established. It tended to focus on general surgery, and it became a journal not just for the British, but became more Europeanized as it developed a wider readership. The biggest progress has probably been made in the last 20 to 30 years. As European readership grew, the name changed from British Journal of Surgery to BJS, reflecting the times, copied by British Airways, BA, and the BMJ. It incorporated other European surgical journals as the subscribers moved to BJS. It also is one of the first journals to have a website, the bjs.co.uk. That enabled us to produce digital material, images, videos, and things like that to enhance the clinical work. In 2017, BJS made a step into the future with BJS Open, an open access journal. That came about because we realized that BJS was really only accepting about 15% of the material that was submitted to it, and yet much of the material was perfectly publishable. The BJS Open was established in 2017 and has now become a very accepted surgical journal with a moderate impact factor, with entertaining and interesting articles. There's long been a dream to start an educational aspect to the BJS to go with the surgical journals, and the BJS Academy was opened in 2021, a free educational website for surgeons elsewhere. In 2023, it was decided to stop the paper journal and have a digital-only publication. And in 2023, later that year, the BJS Foundation became a charitable foundation based on the former owner's BJS Society. And finally, in 2023, came the BJS Award in Surgery, €100,000 given every other year to a surgeon who's made a distinct contribution to surgery and changed surgical practice. The drivers to change have been twofold. First of all, digital publication. The move from the paper journal to digital publication has come with a whole load of interesting opportunities to add value to the digital publication, add value to the papers, but also to improve the access to other materials such as videos, podcasts, and other substances to help surgeons learn from surgical science. The second is Plan S. Plan S came about because at the time, the way that journals were funded was by surgeons subscribing to the journals. That meant that only surgeons who subscribed could actually read the journals, and they were published through direct publishers. Plan S was an idea to transfer the model away from the subscribers paying to the authors pay. So you would pay to have your material published and you'd keep copyright. This would enable anyone, anywhere, at any time to read the material you published. and would obviously have obvious advantages. It's also estimated that it would save £2 billion worldwide on the costs of surgical publication. So many journals have established a hybrid model like the BJS. So we have the BJS subscription model journal, the original journal, which is a high impact factor journal, the BJS Open and Open Access journal, and finally, the educational website, the BJS Academy. This is the same as very many surgical journals. To understand where it's going, you have to understand the income that journals receive. The BJS tends to receive money from three areas: publishing deals, which are found by the publishers through libraries and wide subscription models. Then there's the income from open access manuscripts. And finally, there's the income from strategic partners. These were former groups of subscribers who used to have subscriptions for the whole of their organizations. Now, because most of the material published in BJS is open access, they pay a much reduced subscription to be part of the BJS family and to enjoy not only being able to publish their material on BJS Academy, but to be involved in exactly how it functions. So the future of publishing is undoubtedly going to be digital. Most people who access the journal these days do it on their tablets and many on their mobile phones. The question is necessary about whether or not it'll be possible to do self-publishing in future so that you won't need publishers. Although at the moment, it's still necessary to have a publisher to get to manage the publishing deals worldwide with with the libraries. And then, of course, there's the advent of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence could make a huge difference, first of all, to the way the material is published, but also to the way it's collected and presented to people. Why publishers changed as well? There were always the reasons. There was the advancing surgical science region, the altruistic region for publishing your research, but it was also necessary for career progression. That seems to have become less necessary recently. But what's crept in is a certain amount of self-promotion, the brand of the surgeon, and the opportunity to promote your material on social media and other platforms. It improves the brand of yourself as a surgeon, but it also ensures that your material is more widely disseminated. In the old days, you used to write your surgical paper, send it to the journal, wave it goodbye, and then move on to the next one. Nowadays, that's just not the way things happen. Once your article is accepted, the publishers will normally work with you to create additional extras such as plain English abstracts or visual abstracts to produce material associated with your paper, such as a blog or a podcast or a video, and then they'll help you on social media to promote it. Why do you do that? Well, if you believe in your research, it's to maximize its potential penetration around the world. And surgical research has changed. The BJS in the 60s and 70s was full of single-author retrospective reviews about their own personal surgical practice. Nowadays, there are more multi-center randomized trials, big data analysis, and increasingly collaborative research. So what do you think the future is? Well, clearly the digital revolution has changed everything. The material is so much better and so much more interactive than was available formerly. Open access is going to have a big effect, but currently it's rather stalled. If open access proceeds to become the norm, then that will make a big difference to the way materials accessed and to the availability for you to be able to see everything. And as I mentioned before, artificial intelligence may be a big game changer. Watch this space over the next few years. I can't resist telling you a little bit more about the BJS Academy. You already know it's available free of charge, but have a look at it, please, and see whether it provides the surgical educational material that you need. And if so, join the BJS Academy to get alerts about what we produce. And also, if you're interested in learning more about surgical writing and research, then we run a series of courses with the University of Edinburgh called the BJS Institute, and you can find out more about those on the Academy site. And also, watch out for the BJS Award. The nominations have closed for the 2025 award, but we'll be letting you know early next year who the winner is. Very exciting. Thank you very much for listening.